bam, 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 bam. What's up, my people? Today I'm learning Blender. So this is it. I'm watching this video.
Before we start modeling, you need to turn on a few add-ons that are off by default in Blender. Go to Edit Preferences and then go into Key Map. Here you turn on Tab for Pie Menu as well as extra shading Pie Menu items. Then in the Input tab, turn on Emulate Free Button. To begin, I want to say that Blender can be very overwhelming at first and that it's completely normal to feel intimidated by all of the information. But it's actually really easy to pick up, so you don't need to worry about it. Just try to take it one step at a time and I'll run you through all the basics that you need to get started. Okay, so to rotate around your object, you use the middle mouse button. If you press Shift middle mouse button, you can pan around your scene. You zoom in and out with the wheel on your mouse. I'll leave a little cheat sheet of all the shortcuts I'll be using in the description below. So the first thing I want to explain is a couple of basic 3D concepts. If you're not a complete beginner, feel free to skip this part. So our 3D model here is made from vertices, edges, and faces, which are also called polygons. All of these little points where the edges meet are called vertices. Edges are these lines between two vertices. And finally, this is a face or polygon. Faces are where 3 or more faces. Okay, so let's import a summary image. Then press image. Now you want to unclick Align to View and then load the reference.
Okay, I'm gonna look for bookmark. These guys think they yo-yo, they yo-yo, they yo-yo. No, I can't. Oh! Hey, yo. Hey, look at this. Look at that. How did it use pencil? Hey, yo. Okay, that's it. good. No. Mud cup. Small business. Ah. Nice. Damn. Hey, yo, that's a medic. Oh. Heavy weapons, guy. Eh? Oh, man. Don't tell me I need to. Oh, motherfucker, I'm gonna have to draw it by myself. Okay, but it will be tricky. It will be tricky. Probably end like chat itself. But well, I have to try. I have to try. Oh, so I'm gonna try to yeah, let me drop. So. Oh yeah, I need that. I need the what? Hey yo, what the fuck is this? What the? Nice. Oh, the bird watcher. Man or madcap. Oh, 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 oh. Hey, what if I try to? Yeah, I could also look up for that. So let's go. Bing. So let's try this. I hope it works. That's an illustration, not a concept art, you fucking idiot. You buffoon. No, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. No, no, it isn't ending pretty good. No, this is like the most similar, but no. Hey, yo. Nice, nice. Hey! Granny's Bomb Factory. Nice, nice. Nice. So let's go. Let's walk. Well, back to the front. Ay, puta la wea. Wait a minute, this could be a free fortress. This could be a free copyright fortress. Hey, where's the heavy at? Where's the heavy? Hey, where's the heavy? What happened to the heavy? Who killed him? Yeah, I know this is a medic something, but any many. No, so oh. Hey. 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 Oh wow. Hey. What the fuck? Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Damn, this is entertaining. I'm getting an orgasm right now. I'm having an orgasm right now. Oh wow. Rotato. Oh, rotato, rotato, banana, rotato. Wow. Okay, so basically, let's paint the background. It's like nothing. So now let's draw some basic shapes. I'm gonna connect this thing. ¡Ay, que mover el cacharro! So nah. Wait a minute, I gotta do something. ¿Quieres pegar la silla? La silla. So we're back. This is back again. Again. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Then references. So let's see who's watching me. Who's watching me? No, it not be me. Damn. What? No. No. You know what? No. Nah. Whatever. I'm keep drawing. So fantastic. Shut the fuck up. So now I'm gonna. What was that? Oh yeah, I remember. What was this? This was the Nah. Nah. People say to me that I have a big nose, but this thing, it's a pain, it's having a fucking penis on its face. It's an offense to the rest of the world. It's fucking disgusting, horrible, hideous. How can you walk around with that thing? That you want to hurt my eyes with that fucking nose? Watch. Intruder alert! Red spined bear. They hate the soldier one. That's a scout. Scout again. That happens when you only look at that thing. Scout again.
Unlike most games, Team Fortress 2's art style is not influenced by pre-existing and general art styles such as minimalism or Art Deco. Its art style is directly influenced by J.C. Leyendecker, an artist in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. This is directly said by the game's art director, Moby Frank, in one of the game's commentary notes.
Having decided on a stylized art direction, we experimented with a variety of styles before settling on the example of J.C. Leyendecker, an enormously popular illustrator of the early 1900s. Leyendecker's rendering of clothing and material provided a great example of how to add detail to a character while keeping the clean, sharp silhouette shapes that were key to our class identification. We used normal maps to craft folds of clothing, which provided a fine level.
Dude, item, probably one of the most egregious things.
Finally.
Unlike most games, Team Fortress 2's art style is not influenced by pre-existing and general art styles such as minimalism or Art Deco. Its art style is directly influenced by J.C. Leyendecker, an artist in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. This is directly said by the game's art director, Moby Frank, in one of the game's commentary notes.
Having decided on a stylized art direction, we experimented with a variety of styles before settling on the example of J.C. Leyendecker, an enormously popular illustrator of the early 1900s. Leyendecker's rendering of clothing and material provided a great example of how to add detail to a character while keeping the clean, sharp silhouette shapes that were key to our class identification. We used normal maps to craft folds of clothing, which provided a fine level of detail when seen up close, without detracting from color values, meant to draw.
Okay, now that that coughing fit is over, and this is now the third time I've had to reset because there's some interesting commentary surrounding this item, and I kind of see this as an opportunity, but before I dive in, it's like that people mercenary. And a lot not. I continue. I just do need to say, don't go out of your way and bother people. Don't like go and say mean shit. That's not what this is for. Not enjoy. Commented on their own work because people were not liking this hat, and they said a few things that I think are worth picking apart, and perhaps this will enlighten them or maybe show them why people don't like this creation despite it being, you know, what it is. All right, this is what they said. They say, I feel like people are now starting to be too harsh on items that are even remotely different from the casual military. I'm not sure what they mean by casual military there. I get that there have been a lot of annoyance at Valve for their picks as of late, yada yada yada. But being overly harsh on items that even try and be a bit of fun in their design while staying true to the characters will just demotivate creators. The original hats did this. One of Soldier's hats was a steel pot on his head, and then Spy had a camera hidden in his beard. So excited to keep people wacky or funny or not. Many of them are designed.
Everyone knows first impressions are important, and video games are no exception. If a new game doesn't hook you in early on, you're probably not going to spend a lot of time playing it. And one of the very first things every player notices is how the game looks. Now, of course, gameplay and content are the more critical factors in determining a player's enjoyment, but that doesn't mean graphical appeal should be overlooked either. After all, video games are a visual medium, and the more immersive a game looks, all the more reason to like it. For some games, their unique style can even be a main selling point. But an art style can also convey just what kind of tone its game is going for, as well as providing a hint for just what its world has in store for you. For example, if a game looks pretty realistic, you would likewise expect its story and setting to be pretty realistic as well. And one game that I think perfectly captures everything it has to offer just by showing off its art style alone is Team Fortress 2. Which, given the nature of the game's content, might strike you as a rather odd its unique cartoonish appearance. Which, given the nature of the game's content, might strike you as a rather odd design choice. Out of context, TF2 does sound like a pretty gruesome game, and that's because, when you get down to it, it kinda is. Your average in-game match has no shortage of brutal carnage. I mean, you have players getting decapitated, impaled, and burned alive. And that's just on top of all the relative normal violence that comes from a shooter. If this game looked any more realistic, these absurd acts of war crimes would probably be more noticeable. But that's just it. TF2 is very clearly not a realistic game. But questionable cosmetic additions aside, the general look of the game remains pretty eye-catching. Even back when TF2 was only in beta, the stylized graphics really helped made it stand out from the crowd of other shooter games. While not the first game to have such an art style, for shooters at the time, TF2 was something different, something unique. Or as one of Valve's developers put it,
the game wasn't visually distinct from our other products. Let's be recognizable, ensuring that no
combine this cartoonity. Ever since its release, the look of TF2 has become iconic among graphics rollout. You can expect at least one person will make an immediate comparison with Team Fortress 2. But for as influential TF2's style is now, it didn't always look like this. As a matter of fact, TF2 was an almost completely different game entirely. Yep, back in 1999, this is what someone thought of when they heard Team Fortress 2. And when Valve first showed off this footage, it was more or less what their vision for the game was at the time. But this is clearly not the same game we all know and love today. So how do you go from this to this? Well, the reason Team Fortress 2 had such a realistic appearance in the first place is because TF2 is, surprisingly, a sequel to an older game, Team Fortress Classic. And the reason Team Fortress Classic had a realistic look is because it originally started out as a mod for Half-Life. So when Valve decided to create a sequel, it made sense to keep with the gritty tone. But as production went on, the development team began to encounter the consistency problems that tend to pop up in a real-world setting. In the otherwise apparently logical world the team had decided to place the game in, certain gameplay features just didn't make any sense. Like, why would two opposing forces build their bases directly across from each other? How can the soldier possibly survive blasting a rocket launcher directly beneath him? And how is the medic capable of healing people with a magical beam of feel-good juice? The development team was afraid that the player's suspension of disbelief would be pushed to the point of immersion breaking once faced with these necessities. A more pressing matter was that they were having trouble conveying certain information about how the game worked through grounded visuals. The classes were too similar in appearance, making it difficult to differentiate between them, and some weapon effects didn't quite grab players' attentions enough. So when the limitations of reality proved to be too restrictive, Valve decided to approach TF2 with a drastically different vision. After trying several different looks, the design team ultimately decided to take inspiration from early to mid 20th century artwork. Primarily from the works of Norman Rockwell and J.C. Leyendecker, whose distinctive illustrations provided just the right kind of balance between style and realism that the team was looking for. These graphics were able to be replicated within the source engine through a combination of cel shading and lighting effects alongside newly produced rendering technology that was exclusive to the source engine at the time. In particular was a technique called rim lighting, which saw extensive usage in order to make the classes stand out from the background. Speaking of classes, the new art style meant that the concern of players misidentifying what character the enemy was playing as was no longer an issue. From just their silhouette alone, each class is easily recognizable. When it came down to character design, Valve had a list of priorities that had to be immediately identified as soon as one player spotted another. First, what team are they on? Second, what class are they? And third, what weapon are they using? No matter the distance or lighting, a blue sniper using the classic is not going to be confused with a red medic using the quick fix. But the overall shape is only a part of what makes each class unique from one another. Every detail on a certain class's model tells you just a little bit of what kind of character they are, including the weapons themselves. While it would have been sufficient to simply make stylized versions of various weapons from the time, Valve decided to go the extra mile and made each weapon reflect the personality of its class.
We designed the weapons to look like customized pieces of hardware, personalized and modified by each character to suit his own ends, then focused on musical instruments for secondary and melee weapons.
Now, weapons and playable characters are obviously crucial, but what about the game's world itself? Well, since TF2's art style was based off of illustrations from the mid-20th century, it was only logical to incorporate other popular art elements from the same time span. Instead of a somewhat futuristic setting that matched Team Fortress Classic, Team Fortress 2 was changed into a cartoonishly exaggerated depiction of a vaguely 1950s through 1970s time period. As a result, most maps were designed after Cold War-era military aesthetics. The team also included heavy influences from pop culture at the time, most evidently works from the spy and war film genres, such as Dr. Strangelove and the James Bond series. Likewise, the game's music was also intended to invoke the soundtracks from these classic films. But if you really want to see just how in-depth Valve's artists are, look no further than the official Team Fortress comics, where each one is a reference to a different iconic comic book cover from the time period. In keeping with the bizarre nature of TF2's world, the art movement known as Retrofuturism, aka Ray Gun Gothic, offered plenty of creative ideas for Valve to implement. Retrofuturism refers to the aesthetic that was popularized in America during the space race, and was a common staple of pulp science fiction throughout the 40s to 60s. It's now considered a signature style of the time, and even today it still shows up in works that tend to romanticize the atomic age. As such, the technology in TF2 is a wonderful, pulpy blend of spy gadgets and retro machinery. And there you have it. It's kind of funny that for as synonymous TF2 and cel-shading graphics are, that it wasn't even Valve's original vision for the game. Personally, I find it pretty amusing how TF2 is essentially one big satirical love letter to the Cold War era, with influences from all over the time period, from classic artwork to pulp comic books. It's obvious to say in hindsight, but evolving the game from a rather generic look to such an unmistakable art style has done wonders for the game's lifespan, and I'm glad they did. I can't picture TF2 in any other way. There really is no other game's art style that quite captures the same unique sense of fun, violence, and pure charm that Team Fortress 2 has.
Hey guys, before we get started today, I just want to give a quick thank you to all of our patrons. You guys are keeping this channel alive, and we can't thank you enough. What's up guys, we are back with another Subjectively Speaking, the show where we talk about character design through a subjective lens. What does subjective mean? Well, it means that a lot of what I'll be saying here is based in opinion, and if you have your own opinion to share, I welcome you to leave your thoughts on the video down below in the comments and start a conversation. While you're there, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and be sure to check out our partner, Inked Gaming. They got tons of sweet merch for TCG players, PC gamers, and general lovers of independent artists and their work. Support the channel, support the great people at Inked, and support the artists who made the designs. You know, it's a win-win-win.
You're freaking unbelievable!
And with that out of the way, let's move on to the video. We've touched on a lot of games in our videos. Overwatch, Pokemon, Subnautica, and even Spectrobes. These are all games that I not only enjoy playing, but also bring to light the importance of strong art direction in the industry. And for me, strong visual design is a key factor in deciding whether or not I'm going to play the game. Video games as an art medium have changed a lot over the past decade or so. New developments in game engines, graphic processors, and hardware have been continually providing developers with new options for what their games can look like. It's easy to see the evidence of how visual rendering technology has changed a franchise that has been around for decades. Take the Mario series, for example. And with the fiscal success of the games, why wouldn't they continue to update their look? They can keep slapping Mario's name on game after game, console after console, and all the while render the little Italian to a point where it almost becomes uncomfortable. But some games were designed as though it will be the last game the developers would ever make. Some games not only used the most of what the technology of the time had to offer, but had the foresight to design their world in such a way that even 12 years after the games have been released, it still looked like it could have been designed in the modern day. Now, I'm sure fans of TF2 will say, what are you talking about? If this game even looks half decent today, it's because of subtle graphic updates and custom mods. And I'm sure the rest of you watching this video are saying, really? TF2? We might as well discuss the character design of chess. It's true. Saying, really? TF2? We might as well discuss the character design of chess. It's this video are saying, really? TF2? We might as well discuss the character design of chess. It's true. Valve's Team Fortress 2 is probably known last for its art direction, second for its gameplay, and firstly for its online community. But I think that the developers of this game were geniuses for making it look the way it does, and I'd like to tell you why it's one of the prettiest games that I've ever played. So first, very brief history of TF2 to give some context for people who aren't fans of the game. Team Fortress 2 is a class-based, multiplayer, online, first-person shooter developed by Valve Software. You know, Valve, Portal 2, Half-Life 2, Dota 2, Team Fortress 2. They're not a fan of threes. But why the two? Well, the original Team Fortress was actually in some respects a very different game, especially from a visual standpoint. It was a mod of an old first-person shooter game called Quake, and it looked, very of the time. Now, when the developers were putting together the original Team Fortress, their last thoughts were on art direction. For them, the focus was to create a new way to play first-person shooters that would come to revolutionize the entire genre. But once Valve got their hands on the IP, they had much more time and far better resources to develop a game that was just overall more well-rounded. There are a lot of elements that go into the visual design of a video game like TF2. You got weapons, maps, props, environments, particle effects, skins, cosmetics. I could do a whole series on just this one game. But I think enough can be said about the art direction of the whole game from just the character design, and I don't want to keep you guys here all day. So, who are the characters? In the game itself, there are 9 playable classes, each with a unique yet thematic personality. The Scout, the Soldier, the Pyro, the Demo Man, the Heavy, the Engineer, the Medic, the Sniper, and the Spy. And like any good video game character, each of these iconic designs went through a long developmental process before the artists settled on a look that they thought best embodied the themes of the game. You can identify the theme of TF2 pretty quickly. I mean, look at what all the characters have in common. They're rude, cruel, disrespectful, and violent. Basically a bunch of guys you wouldn't feel too bad about killing, or even people who wouldn't mind getting killed themselves. Think about it. In one game of TF2, you could end up killing the same scout over and over and over again. I mean, imagine if every time you did, this happened. That wouldn't be fun to play. Because after all, the theme of TF2 is effectively the same as the main mechanic of the game. Kill each other. The 9 playable characters are designed to be subconsciously easy to kill. And it's not just because of their personalities.
If you were from where I was from, you'd be fucking dead.
Let's now take a look at their visual design and how this too plays into the main themes and mechanics of the game. So, as most of you probably know, in a lot of video games there are things called hitboxes. Basically, they're little areas that exist within the game to let the code know when you've registered a hit. In some games, they're only recognizable after you played a game for a long enough time and you become familiar with them. But in a fast-paced game like TF2, it's important that a player can learn these hitboxes very quickly and on the spot. It should come as no surprise then to learn that developers of TF2 designed their characters with sharp, blocky, geometric shapes that give them the impression of a broad brush painting, or even Legos. This not only illustrates more clearly to a new player different hitbox sizes and shapes, but also plays into the design aesthetic of the game as a whole, which I am hereby naming the mid-century propaganda style. The world of TF2 is set in something like a caricature of war as Americans saw it during the 50s and 60s, as if through a window of a military recruitment poster. It's another unifying theme of black humor that plays off of a romanticized Western view of war. But without the grim context, the era and the culture of inspiration for the art direction is actually really quite beautiful. The aesthetic was bred in a time when world powers all wanted to convince each other that they were superior in every way. We have stronger armies, more advanced technologies, and more beautiful natural landmarks. And the result was waves and waves of propaganda in the form of posters, ads, and TV commercials. Capturing this kind of feigned enamorment for the world and all the while masking the bloody reality creates an atmosphere of retro nostalgia that to people my age may seem like a desirable, simpler, and perhaps more beautiful time. And all of these visual themes can be seen reflected in the characters and their designs. Their outfits, their palettes, their mannerisms, their weapons, and their motives. And in the way they're rendered, with their broad, flat geometric shapes and their exaggerated silhouettes, which, again, also serves the purpose of educating players while they play about each character's individual hitboxes. Now there's one other benefit to this style in TF2, and you can decide for yourself if this is just a coincidence or intentional on the behalf of the designers. TF2 was first released in 2007. Now, this was at a point in gaming history where graphic processing was beginning to take off. Games that wanted to have hyper-realistic textures and believable worlds finally had the technology to make that vision accessible to their players. Nevertheless, that was over a decade ago, and we've come a long way from this. But not all games feel like they needed to push the envelope with their graphics. In fact, some games made the deliberate choice to go in the opposite direction with their design, intentionally simplifying the look of their world to not only give the game a unique feel, but also as a preventative measure to keep their game from feeling dated in years to come. TF2's stylization makes it instantly recognizable, and it has been iconic for years. It was the first thing that really attracted me to the game back in 2011 when I first started playing it. And in my opinion, it's part of the reason why TF2 remains to be a popular first-person shooter even 12 years after its release. While other developers will create new games as time goes on and technology improves, TF2 really has a timeless look that continues to hold up even after all these years. This may or may not have anything to do with the fact that Valve is barely a game developer anymore, but it might explain why they feel like they don't have to make any new games.
I can't believe you've done this.
But that's all beside the point. My point is, even though this game may be underappreciated for its art direction, I believe that it actually has some of the most well thought out and visually pleasing design in any game. I believe the artists who worked on this game thought carefully about how their audience will play the game, and how they learned about its mechanics through character design. I believe they had a good understanding of themes of black humor, and how appropriate the visual motifs of Western mid-century propaganda would be in a game where men are constantly killing each other to effectively no end. And I believe they wanted this game to be a hit with fans for years to come, and that they would use these three goals in tangent with one another to create a very well put together game that would be enjoyed whether its players cared about its art design or not. I'd also like to bring up real quick the immediate impact this game has had on other creators. Through the Steam Community Workshop, independent artists and designers can develop and submit their own maps, cosmetics, and animations into the game, and some of them become official. It's a really nice way to involve the game's community in a way that promotes creative thinking and strengthens the importance of art direction in a game. And lastly, I'd like to shout out Drew Wolf. I encourage you to check out the internal pitch that he made and his designs for female versions of all of the classes. His concept art is beautiful, and the levels of concept and diversity that he explored in his female designs make me wish that we could play as these characters as well. So, that's it. That's my spiel. Like I said, I could make a whole series of videos about Team Fortress 2, and if you guys are interested, I'd be happy to go into more details about individual characters, maps, props, and so on. There's a ton of great stuff in this game. If you haven't played it yet, I recommend that you check it out. It's free to play, so it's worth it just to go in and get a feel of what I'm talking about. And to get a feel of the lovely community. Understandable if that turns you off. And for my fans who are already avid TF2 players, let me know if I should make a subjectively Steam group, and we can all play together. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
I just hope you would fucking kill yourself. Jesus Christ, soldier! Calm down! No! I just hope you would fucking kill yourself. Jesus Christ, soldier! Calm down! No! Drop the baby.
Team Fortress 2 is a first-person shooter released October 10, 2007 as a sequel to the mod for the... What set Team Fortress 2 apart from other contemporary games at the time, such as its distinct art style which makes unique to this day. TF2's style is heavily based around the arts of J.C. Leyendecker, Norman Rockwell, as well as Dean Cornwell, for its distinct look based around the 19th to mid-20th century oil paintings. The style also took inspiration from classical advertisements as well. which can be seen in the game's environments and character design. This, combined with a comic style-like effect, creates a visual wonder on the eyes and remains memorable to those who view it. This distinct art style can be seen in early concept art for some of the characters, which retain their distinct features even at the final release of the game. This style allows for distinct differences between each character and class, as well as their silhouettes. For example, we have the Scout, we have the Sniper, and we have the Heavy. Through their names alone, you might be able to identify them. And even when you add cosmetics onto these characters, you may still be able to identify them, which many games struggle to do today. This silhouetting was plotted based upon the character's weapons, as well as the folds in their clothing. For example, you can tell who the spy is based upon his silhouette, and his distinct clothing with a tailored suit with little folds, as well as him wielding a small butterfly knife, whereas the soldier has baggy arms and a collar that is more curved as well, and of course wielding an extremely large rocket launcher. The colors of each team is also set this to be distinct, utilizing two simple colors of red and blue, and even naming said teams around them. However, in practice, it allows for players to identify their location, whether or not they are in an enemy's area or their own. For example, on the map Granary, the red team typically uses brick, rusted down metal, as well as wood, with cream colors and distinct browns and reds, whereas the blue team utilizes instances of concrete, lower rusted blue tinted metal, as well as blue painted buildings, with colors consisting of silver, blue tints, and darker grays, with little organic matters compared to red, which uses more natural resources. However, points of neutrality, such as capture points or the ground, will be gray. Similarly, woods that fit neither team will often be tinted purple to match both. These colors are lower saturated as well and give more emphasis to the painting-like style. This can be seen even more in depth with the textures, which have very little noise in order to emphasize their features, with often minimal details such as block-like strokes, or often emphasis on features which make them appear more 3D, such as cracks in the ground. This helps retain its often cartoonish style as well. And the colors on the color palette in particular are analogous to one another. So essentially this means when one color is made up of the three on a color palette, this one will be essentially next to it. So for example, you have a primary blue, and almost the opposite of it will be a primary red, for example. And these two colors are essentially analogous to one another, as they are both, let's say, the second in the three colors. Even when it comes to the game's other colors, they are often desaturated, despite even often being portrayed as saturated colors. For example, in its alternative mode Pyroland, brighter colors will still be at a lower saturation. This is in order to not cause visual strain, as well as follow the art style in general. general sense, such as its color palette. Of course, this does not necessarily apply to some of its paint cans, such as pink as hell, a distinct lack of hue, or lime as well as lime green, as you can tell. So, you're probably wondering to yourself, Lucky, why does this matter when it comes to war paints? Well, I'm going to tell you. It doesn't. See, when it comes to war paints specifically, they're a huge oddity compared to, let's say, a lot of other items in Team Fortress 2, such as a majority of them don't exactly follow the TF2 formula, and this is okay. Just take a look at Hana and Helldriver, two distinct war paints with fairly saturated color. However, they're balanced and fit perfectly to not be bad on the eye. Not everything in the modern age of TF2 needs to follow simple colors of dust and gravel. However, to understand TF2's art style can help you aid in your warpaint design and implementation into the game. In this guide, we're going to be looking more in depth into the design of warpaint and how you can make your very own for others to see, as well as the process of uploading onto the workshop, and I'll catch you on the next time.
Hey guys, before we get started today, I just want to give a quick thank you to all of our patrons. You guys are keeping this channel alive, and we can't thank you enough. What's up guys, we are back with another Subjectively Speaking, the show where we talk about character design through a subjective lens. What does subjective mean? Well, it means that a lot of what I'll be saying here is based in opinion, and if you have your own opinion to share, I welcome you to leave your thoughts on the video down below in the comments and start a conversation. While you're there, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and be sure to check out our partner, Inked Gaming. They got tons of sweet merch for TCG players, PC gamers, and general lovers of independent artists and their work. Support the channel, support the great people at Inked, and support the artists who made the designs. You know, it's a win-win-win.
You're freaking unbelievable!
And with that out of the way, let's move on to the video. We've touched on a lot of games in our videos. Overwatch, Pokemon, Subnautica, and even Spectrobes. These are all games that I not only enjoy playing, but also bring to light the importance of strong art direction in the industry. And for me, strong visual design is a key factor in deciding whether or not I'm going to play the game. Video games as an art medium have changed a lot over the past decade or so. New developments in game engines, graphic processors, and hardware have been continually providing developers with new options for what their games can look like. It's easy to see the evidence of how visual rendering technology has changed a franchise that has been around for decades. Take the Mario series, for example. And with the fiscal success of the games, why wouldn't they continue to update their look? They can keep slapping Mario's name on game after game, console after console, and all the while render the little Italian to a point where it almost becomes uncomfortable. But some games were designed as though it will be the last game the developers would ever make. Some games not only used the most of what the technology of the time had to offer, but had the foresight to design their world in such a way that even 12 years after the games have been released, it still looked like it could have been designed in the modern day. Now, I'm sure fans of TF2 will say, what are you talking about? If this game even looks half decent today, it's because of subtle graphic updates and custom mods. And I'm sure the rest of you watching this video are saying, really? TF2? We might as well discuss the character design of chess. It's true. Valve's Team Fortress 2 is probably known last
Team Fortress 2 is a small miracle of a game. Not because of the fact that it went through a nightmarish development hell and somehow came out on top as one of its era's premier shooters, though that's pretty damn impressive. Not the fact that it served as the spearhead of the Steam client for years, survived going free-to-play without self-immolating, and accidentally created an economy built on selling imaginary hats? Though how the hell it pulled that off without being the biggest PR nightmare in games is baffling. Not the fact that it still has a loving and passionate community to this day. Though for a game that came out in 2007 that long since has stopped receiving anything more than basic maintenance from its parent company, yeah, that's kind of insane. No. The real TF2 miracle is that all of these things were possible because of one unifying bedrock that the game could always depend on. Something that's never aged, something that stood up in the face of adversity, and something that will essentially make the game immortal. Team Fortress 2 is good because Funny Putis Man and his friends make people laugh. Because Funny Putis Man and his friends make people laugh.
I am King of Teeth. Let us wrestle, little man. Yes!
The 8 eclectic mercenaries and sniper that make up Team Fortress 2's cast. The 8 eclectic mercenaries and sniper that make up Team Fortress 2's cast are some of the most incredible characters I've ever seen in a video game, and also sniper. That's not to say they're super deep characters, teeming with backstory who will change your life and worldview simply by experiencing their story, but they are legendary in a different way. Every single member of Team Fortress 2's cast is utterly perfect in the role they serve. Their personalities, design, voice, and identity, a brilliant extension of their gameplay and the overall tone of Team Fortress 2. The moment extension of their gameplay and the overall tone of Team Fortress 2. The moment any one of these idiots opens their mouth or even starts just moving around with a gun, even if you've never seen them before, you know exactly what they're all about. The cast of TF2 elevates the game from simply being a really good team-based shooter and turns it into something more. It turns the game into playable slapstick comedy.
Starting to bore me how much you suck.
Let's take Pyro for instance, probably the outwardly least interesting class. It's somebody in a full-body asbestos-lined suit and a gas mask who makes muffled noises of pyromaniac pleasure as they set things on fire. Not much room to branch out there. Your strategy as Pyro, at a base level, is to hold forward and hit the set things on fire button. Retreat to a corridor where your short range is less of a hindrance, and do it again. When you look at the Tusken Raider taunt and the muffled cheers of glee at the sight of searing flesh, yeah, you get that this is a character who sells the joy of mindlessly setting things on fire really well. And when you're fighting him, you feel dumb for dying to a Pyro, because their W plus M1 win condition is both intensely simple and intensely avoidable. So, you adapt. You learn the map, figure out where a Pyro is likely gonna lurk, and start planning for those ambushes, ready to take him on and get an easy kill. And then Pyro sneaks up behind you and blasts you anyway.
I am on fire!
And you feel even dumber. After learning the game at a basic level, every interaction in Team Fortress 2 is all about subverting expectations. Sure, you might be able to lob a grenade around a corner to hit a waiting Pyro once, but they can just air blast it right back and then kaboom! You just blew yourself up, idiot. You might run into the water to cool yourself off from third-degree burns, but there could be a hungry heavy in the water, waiting to pick you up. No matter how brilliant Spy's best disguise is, he's still thwarted by a Pyro so much as sneezing in his direction. The crafty cerebral class outwitted by the most simple tactic in the game. Team Fortress 2 is a game that's won through unexpected moves, about anticipating the sentry nest around the corner or the incoming uber charge and figuring out the best way to distract and humiliate your opponent. And because of the incredibly over-the-top nature, because of these cartoonish personalities, you never get the chance to feel like a brilliant mastermind, stringing together a genius play at just the right moment to break a point. Instead, it just feels funny. Like it managed to trick some idiots into falling for your bait and get to laugh all the way to the bank with it. This extends to every single member of the cast. Of course, Soldier can rocket jump. You take one look at him and you know he's a man who would think, I need to kill fast, but legs too slow. But rocket fast and American.
Sun Tzu might have invented war, but we invented winning them.
Scout is the world's most perfect distraction, able to disorient and pepper foes in any number of ways.
What's the matter, you freaking stupid?
But one wrong move and the cocky loudmouth is humbled immediately.
Aw, crap.
Engineer's good old boy, hyper-genius personality is contrasted with the extreme paranoia when playing him, knowing that you're spy target numero uno, waiting quietly for that enemy team's push or ambush to come, never quite knowing when. Sniper's highly professional attitude is always set back by his natural Aussie aggressiveness. Plus the fact that no one on your team is particularly happy that you're just sitting around playing a point-and-click adventure with the other team's sniper, Killjoy.
Crikey.
All of Team Fortress 2's mercs have a game plan, one that's immediately obvious to both their team and the entire enemy squad. And the fact that most games will end up featuring at least one of every class on a team should make encounters repetitive and stagnant with such an overall small cast. But just because you know where NG nests on Upward are gonna be every time, doesn't mean you can take them down in the same way. Every single class plays a thrilling game of cat and mouse with every single other class, trying to figure out how they're either gonna perform their primary function or try to subvert it. Whenever one side prevails, the medic filling a man with syringes as he's branching off from his partner Heavy, Sniper deciding to get out of the 2-forward overpass and literally piss away an enemy's chances, Demo Man perfectly trapping an escape route before luring some fools into a sticky doom. It's not a big brain play, it's a punchline. It's a gag. It's... Just as you know what kind of jokes to expect from each individual member of the Looney Tunes gang, every class in TF2 has their own built-in gags and punchlines to myrtleize each other with. But while you know the content of each joke and kill beforehand, the context of the location, timing, and how it subverts expectations, that is what makes these tunes funny. And in TF2, you're not just hearing the jokes, you're helping tell them. In the same way that Wile E. Coyote fails to catch the Roadrunner thanks to his own hubris, so too does the kill-hungry soldier overextend himself and get his rocket poofed right back into his face.
Damn it!
Heavy's a big, strong lug who will always see his job through, until he gets beamed with a baseball and trips over himself trying to swat down a bothersome fly.
I am owning you, you fat, bald, fatty, fat.
Hell, the NG Spy Pyro relationship is just a Tom and Jerry cartoon involving Spike the dog. The crafty cat being totally overwhelmed by a simple punch to the face. Except the punch is fire, and the face is his entire body.
I appear to have burst into flames.
All of the mercs play their roles to perfection. Their personalities enhancing their gameplay to make players feel like they're really inheriting the role of these reckless, dangerous sociopaths, and going to town trying to knock these other morons down a peg. Alright, also, their personalities. The appeal of Team Fortress 2 is immediately evident. You've got super vibrant characters with highly expressive designs shooting the crap out of each other and loving every...
Sound. A lot of cats, kittens.
every second of their blissful bloodshed. Realistically, you could probably leave it there, add in a couple of memeable voice lines, and TF2 would still be pretty exceptional at capturing personality. But instead, TF2 loads the characters up with hundreds of voice lines, insulting all of the other mercenaries individually as killing sprees and dominations spring up.
You must be a doctor, because you just saw the extent of my patience.
Soldier has 6 different voice lines just calling Sniper different variations of
Balbo Biggins, Barbo Bapkins, Basbo Bibbins.
Cause why not? This is on top of all of the game's generic taunts, barbs, and whining that your healer isn't doing their job to be expected from the genre. The delightful death screams of each cold-blooded killer, the cartoonish sound of getting your lights punched out with every crit. And with how over-the-top every single personality is, not only do you feel great playing as them, even if you might not instantly like their class's gameplay, you feel amazing showing up and slaughtering these hammy morons every single time. Team Fortress 2 puts all of its effort into making killing as fun as possible, and does absolutely everything it can to make the dynamic of every mercenary crystal clear. And all of this effort, all of this insane level of detail in making every class special, is probably the least important thing to their character. That is a distant second. 2. Each member of the Team Fortress crew has their own introduction video. Some shot as mock documentary interviews, some shot as basically a promo video, and others showing off complete cinematic storylines. Every Meet the Team video is utterly brimming with personality. The subject is placed front and center, showing off all of the ways that they can naturally outwit, outplay, and outlast the rest of the cast, with their overwhelming firepower, skill, speed, and homicidal recklessness.
Oh, they're going to have to glue you back together in hell!
And due to the insular nature of the videos, always featuring the same 9 characters and only having a single one be particularly competent at a time, a growing familiarity